Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a first look plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike Hypervenom Phinish in the Wolf Gray, Total Orange, and Black colorway. Now inside the box they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves, being that this is a top-end model. It features a gray string bag with gray strings, a black kind of shattered graphic that matches the shoes, your Hypervenom branding in orange, and then on the back you're going to find a single orange Nike swoosh. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly and we'll take a closer look at what is essentially a low-cut version of the Hypervenom Phantom 2, a more traditional construction that Nike is now calling the Hypervenom Phinish. So for those that were big fans of the original Hypervenom Phantom, don't want the dynamic fit collar on the Phantom 2, the Hypervenom Phinish is probably what you should look for, because it does have a more traditional soccer cleat construction that's a lot more similar to the original Hypervenom Phantom. So just like what we see in the Magista and Mercurial lineups, the Hypervenom line now has two high-end models, the Phantom 2 and the Phinish, which is what I have right here, and what we're going to be detailing in today's video. We're going to be doing a complete overview, talking tech specs, talking about the overall visuals of the shoe, talking performance, as well as how these things fit and feel. So if you are interested in learning more about the Nike Hypervenom Phinish, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, check out the review page on my website. It'll be the very first link down below in the description. As soon as these things do go up for sale, you will find buy it now links on that page with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you will be able to pick these up below their normal retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk tech specs. Now this is a particularly interesting release from Nike in that it introduces a second top-end model within the Hypervenom lineup. Now of course we have this now with the Mercurial line and the Magista line, where you have the Obra and the Opus, as well as the Superfly 4 and the Vapor 10. But if you look at those two top-end models within the same lines, they're both very different from each other when it comes to feel. In the case of the Phantom 2 and the Phinish, they're very, very similar to each other. There's obviously some cosmetic and visual differences in that this doesn't have the black pattern printed on the sole. And of course, it's a low-cut shoe as opposed to a mid-cut shoe. And because of that, the Phinish does not have any flyknit on it whatsoever, either through the middle or in the form of a collar, which it does not have. The rest of the shoe, though, is pretty much identical. So if you are planning on buying a pair of new Hypervenoms and you want it to go high-end, it really is up to you in terms of whether you want a more traditional low-cut soccer cleat or something with a mid-cut design. If that's the case, the Phantom 2 might be what you want, whereas again, if you want something a little bit more traditional, the Phinish might be what you're looking for, because again, they're both going to feel and perform very similar to each other because they're almost the same shoe. So the upper is made entirely from what Nike is calling Nike skin, which is a lot different from what we got with the original Hypervenom Phantom. You can see the Nike skin branding right there. On the Phantom, you have the ACC branding there as well, but on this shoe, it's actually been moved to the lacing, or where the tongue would normally be. It's a one-piece design, and you can see it's just printed there on the upper in black. So you have a base layer of mesh with a top fuse layer, and then an internally fuse layer as well that acts kind of as a support cage. And like I said, it's pretty much identical to what you're going to find on the Hypervenom Phantom 2. It's not necessarily stiff, but it's a lot harder than you might expect. It's flexible enough. It does feel, like I said, a little bit rigid at first, but once you get used to that sensation, once the shoe does actually soften up a little bit, it actually becomes a very comfortable shoe, and one that is very, very, very responsive. Probably the most responsive shoe on the market at the moment, which is pretty great considering how light this shoe actually is. It fits really well, wraps your foot nicely. It's a thin upper, so you get that kind of barefoot type of sensation. It's not quite as thin as what you're going to find from the Vapor 10, but because it is a little bit firmer and has so much structure to it, it just feels a little bit more significant on your foot, I guess is the best way to describe it. You're going to find all of these kind of embossed lines cutting across the entire upper. They say it's supposed to be a flex groove. Honestly, it doesn't flex all that much. It's not going to impact the flexibility or really your touch on the ball. You won't feel any of this texturing on the surface of the upper. You will find that there is a very fine texturing as well on the very surface caused by the actual mesh base layer of the synthetic. But again, for the most part, when you make touches on the ball, it feels completely smooth with minimal extra grip, a little bit less grippy than what we got from the original Hypervenom Phantom and its Nike skin upper. Now, you can see that this shoe, the Phinish, unlike the Hypervenom Phantom 2, has a one-piece design where it's entirely the same material across the shoe. Well, I really shouldn't say that. It's actually fused, not really fused on, but there's a reinforcement layer here that you can see. But the material in the middle is a little bit different in that it's more stretchy, more elasticated, kind of what you're going to find on the Vapor 10 with its one-piece design. It's that similar type of material through the middle of the shoe where it is a little bit thinner for the sake of the shoe being able to open up when you actually slide your foot inside. And again, it creates that nice seamless sensation. I like that on this model versus the Phantom 2. There are no overlapping materials. It just feels a little bit more consistent when you're making touches on the ball, and overall feels very comfortable. I was a fan of the Vapor 10 with its one-piece design, and it feels just as good on this shoe as well. And of course, the upper is also finished off with ACC All Conditions Control, acting as your wet control element. So if you are looking for better grip on the ball in wet playing conditions, that's exactly what you're going to get here with the Finish. Now, to reinforce the upper, not only is the mesh a little bit stiffer, you're also going to get the flywire reinforcements running from the base of the sole into the actual lacing system that runs in kind of a zigzag pattern. You can see the lacing system, because of the one-piece design, is again laid out like what you're going to find on Nike's other one-piece shoes, most notably the Mercurial Vapor 10, where it goes in one lace hole, into the upper, and then out the other one, and then obviously crisscrosses from there. So instead of using one lace hole on each side in each spot like you'd find in a more traditional shoe with a standard tongue, you have two lace holes in each spot, which again doesn't really isn't something that's particularly noticeable while you're actually wearing the shoe, but the Flywire does a really good job of maintaining a nice structured responsive sensation when you're putting a lot of force and pressure on the lateral or medial side of the shoe. It locks your foot in place really nicely, and you get an extremely responsive sensation. For those that have seen my videos on the Hypervenom Phantom 2, there's some slow-mo traction portions to those videos where you can see that there's almost no rollover whatsoever in this particular upper, which is really important in providing that one-to-one sensation. The second that you react is the second that the shoe reacts, and that's really a satisfying feeling that you get with this new Hypervenom Phantom 2/Finish design that they've implemented here. Now, of course, this being the Finish does not have the mid-cut design. It's a standard cut, just like what we found on the Hypervenom Phantom 1 internal plastic heel counter, the exact same cut, pretty much the exact same liner as well. This is more of a textured but still smooth synthetic leather material as opposed to being a completely smooth synthetic like we saw on the original. Not something that's super noticeable when you're actually wearing the shoe. Decent amount of padding back there, which is really nice. The insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It is also the same as what you're going to find on the Phantom 2. So mesh liner on top, there's your Hypervenom graphic, and it's made from somewhat of an ortholite type of material, which you normally would find on indoor shoes, but obviously they've implemented it here on a firm ground shoe. It's just a nice, spongy, relatively dense foam that feels really good. You get a decent amount of underfoot cushioning, and most importantly for me anyways, it doesn't slide around on you. So in my opinion, this is actually a nice improvement over what we got with the original Hypervenom Phantom. Moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, looks very similar to what we got on the original Phantom. Obviously you don't have any of that graphic like you'll find on the Phantom 2. It's made from a glass nylon sole plate that is more flexible than what we got from the original Hypervenom Phantom, which is something that I really appreciate, especially at first. The break-in process is just a lot more natural because of the more flexible sole plate, but you still get the nice structure and rigidity that it does provide just in terms of the material being a little bit stiffer in general in comparison to a standard TPU plastic material. And then you have your stud plate on top with the firm ground studs, exactly the same stud pattern we got with the original Hypervenom release. Nothing has changed here. Pretty much the same layout as what you're going to find with a Mercurial line, but instead of bladed studs, you have conical studs. So you get a decent amount of bite given the shape and just kind of smaller shape of the studs themselves, but because they are conical in shape, you get plenty of freedom to twist, turn, pivot, and just maneuver when your foot is planted. So if you're looking for a good blend of modern and classic feel in terms of grip as well as maneuverability, that's exactly what you're getting here with the Hypervenom Finish. And again, if you wore the original Hypervenom line, you should feel right at home in the new line as well, because like I said, they haven't changed a thing. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs and performance. Again, if you have any other questions or require any clarification for the Hypervenom Finish, leave those questions down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. And with that being said, let's move on to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. In terms of weight, I thought we'd compare the weight of the Hypervenom Finish to the Hypervenom Phantom 2 to see if there's any kind of a significant difference between the two. So I'm going to weigh both of them for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind they're both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. We'll start off with the Hypervenom Phantom 2. Throw it on the scale, and you can see that it weighs in in at 7.8 ounces, the equivalent of 221 grams, up about 0.8 ounces from the original Hypervenom Phantom. So we'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Hypervenom Phinish, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.3 ounces, about half an ounce lighter, the equivalent of 207 grams. So it too is a little bit heavier in comparison to the original Hypervenom Phantom, that in the same size weighs in at around 7 ounces or so. But with that being said, the weight difference is minimal coming from the original Phantom, and even very minimal coming from the Phantom 2. So if weight is something that's really on your mind with either of these two shoes, I really don't think it should be the deciding factor because they are so close to each other. They're both very lightweight, feel light on your feet, and are extremely responsive. You're going to get that from both of these two shoes. So really, if you're trying to decide between the Phinish and the Phantom, it shouldn't be down to weight. It should really be down to whether or not you want a more traditional construction at the ankle and heel area, or you want the Flyknit through the middle of the foot, as well as the mid-cut dynamic fit collar. As far as the physical appearance of the Hypervenom Phinish is concerned, I just feel like they look a little bit cleaner in comparison to the Hypervenom Phantom 2, which has a lot more going on through the middle of the foot, and then of course with the Flyknit mid-cut collar, which has that kind of salt and pepper like coloring to it. So this features wolf gray across the entire upper, and it's the same shade of wolf gray through the laces as well as the middle portion of the shoe, which is really nice. You're going to find the signature Hypervenom swoosh running through the front of the shoe, as well as the backward swoosh here on the heel, which looks really cool. Orange on the front, black on the back. You're going to find this shattered graphic that runs from the medial side all the way to the lateral side in that total orange color. Your Hypervenom name right there. And I really like the shattered graphic overall. If I had one complaint, it's that the orange on the upper doesn't really match the orange on the sole plate too well. And that's just because you have two different materials. This is a lot more vibrant, where the orange on the sole plate just looks a lot more dull. And that's one thing that you do get as a benefit in terms of the appearance of the shoe with the Hypervenom Phantom 2, and that you have that graphic printed on top that kind of hides the color difference a little bit better. At least that's what I found with the shoe, just holding them in my hands in person. So overall, I think it's a really good looking shoe. I would argue that this version looks a little bit better. At least I think it looks a little bit better in comparison to the Phantom 2. But again, leave your opinions on that down below in the comment section. Would you rather the Phinish or the Phantom, just strictly based on visuals? I'd be curious to hear your opinions. And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit, and of course, what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Hypervenom Phinish on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock gray laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot, I have a pair of reflective orange SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, check out the website sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, I'm actually really happy with the Phinish, and personally prefer the feel of these in comparison to the Phantom 2, that of course has the Flyknit through the midfoot and the Flyknit dynamic fit collar. The reasoning behind that is, for me, I just prefer the more traditional, I guess that's not really the best word, the more standard type of fit and feel that these provide, with, like I said, a standard low cut in the heel. It's a lot more similar to the original Hypervenom Phantom, or more similar to a lot of shoes in general. But that's not to take anything away from the Phantom 2 and its Flyknit design. If you like the mid-cut, if you like the idea of Flyknit and you like how that feels, then you'd probably be happier with the Phantom 2. But again, if you want something a little bit more standard, the Phinish may be the better option for you. I really like how the shoe wraps your foot. I like the one-piece design. You do have that elasticated material through the middle that seems to be a little bit more stretchy than what you get on the Vapor 10, despite it looking a lot more similar. And the lacing system is slightly offset in comparison to the Vapor 10 as well, which makes these a lot easier to get on in comparison to that one-piece upper, which can be a bit of a struggle. And once you get them on your foot, it wraps your foot really nicely. You have that nice kind of compression type of fit because it is a one-piece upper, and then when you pull the laces tight, you get all that extra support from the upper itself. Now the upper, being that it is Nike skin, is completely different from the original Hypervenom Phantom. It's a lot stiffer, it's a lot more rigid, dare I say hard, but it's one of those things that takes some getting used to. It doesn't feel uncomfortable, it doesn't feel bad. It's just not what you would expect from a high-end soccer shoe. Normally with high-end synthetics, high-end leathers, whatever it may be, you expect them to be soft and flexible. This is kind of the opposite of that, but in a good way. Once you get used to how they feel, you can really appreciate the structure and just rigidity that this shoe provides when it comes to making quick cuts and changes of direction. It's very responsive. It has that one-to-one sensation when you wear them. And like I said, in terms of outright performance, this definitely beats the original Hypervenom Phantom, despite not having that same sock-like sensation on your foot. As far as the width is concerned, they're going to be suitable for most foot types as long as you don't have excessively wide feet. Like I said, despite the one-piece upper, they're fairly easy to get on and they fit really comfortably. Again, you're not going to really have any issues with kind of overstretching like you found with the original Hypervenom Phantom, just because this upper isn't actually going to stretch. So the way they fit from right out of the box is the way they're going to fit for their entire lifespan. So again, if you have excessively wide feet, probably not the best option for you, but if you don't normally struggle with the width of soccer cleats, these should fit you just fine. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would go with your normal size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So same size as the Phantom 2, same size as the Phantom 1, and same size as all the Hypervenoms in general. They run true to size, and that's really what you need to know. Alright guys, that's it for my first impressions of the new Hypervenom Phinish from Nike. I have to say, off initial impressions, I'm really happy with these. I think it's a nice high-end alternative in comparison to the Phantom 2 if you want a more standard cut to the shoe and really no dynamic fit collar. And overall, I'm happy with how they feel. Can't wait to try them out. Of course, once I get some testing time in these, I will be following up with more content on the Hypervenom Phinish, comparison videos, performance test videos as well. So if you guys do have any suggestions as far as particular videos you'd like to see involving the Hypervenom Phinish, leave those suggestions down below in the comment section. Of course, I will be following up with a detailed written review as well in the coming weeks. In the meantime, if you guys do want to check out the review page on my website, which will be the very first link down below in the description of this video, as soon as these things are available for purchase, I will have buy it now links on that page, along with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you will be able to pick these up below their normal retail price. So if you're interested in a pair, first link down below in the description, go ahead and check it out. That's where you're going to get these for the best possible price. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below in the comments. I will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like, subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.